Here's more wrestling news for April 28th, 2023, and we're kicking off with Steve Austin, and after an impressive WrestleMania 38 performance, WWE wasted no time in courting Stone Cold for a match this year, which ultimately did not happen. Despite names ranging from LA Knight to Brock Lesnar to Roman Reigns being pitched, Austin did not compete at WrestleMania 39, but what about next year in Philly? While speaking to Chris Van Vliet of Insight, Austin was asked whether he has one last match left in him and believes a match at WrestleMania 40 is possible. He said, "I could wrestle next year. I'm not going to sit here and lobby for one because that'd be silly. It's a year away, but a year away in this business goes like that. So in the future, I'm not lobbying for it, but could anything happen? Yes, because I always say never. Explaining not wrestling this year, Austin said that the filming of his show Stone Cold Takes on America meant that he had no time to train, and he wouldn't have been able to give a suitable in-ring performance. Whether Austin wrestles next year or not, those plans are far from being in the works right now, but don't be surprised to see a can of whoop-ass or two being opened next year in the city of brotherly love. When Triple H began rehiring ex-superstars last year, Matt Cardona often teased that he was going back, and at one point even suggested that he'd be part of the 2023 Men's Rumble match. While Cardona didn't return on the show, his wife Chelsea Green did, and now the former Zack Ryder has teased reuniting with Green, but now in WWE. During the latest episode of Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw, Cardona said he is immensely proud to see what Chelsea has accomplished since returning, even though her return did mess up what they had going on the independents. The former NWA World Champion added that maybe one day we'll be back together on that main roster, stating that you never know, and it would certainly be a big deal for Cardona to return. After his 2020 release, Cardona transformed himself from a lovable jobber to one of the indie scene's most vile stars, and has held gold in the NWA, Impact, GCW, and other promotions. Cardona and Green remain wholly supportive of what each other are doing, even if it is in different companies, but do you want to see Matt return to WWE and be by his wife's side? Let us know in the comments. Now, professional wrestling is a dangerous business to be in, and there's no getting around that. And last year, Adam Cole was taken out of action with a serious concussion. Cole only returned to the ring recently, and there was a period of time when it looked like that would never happen. And we now know more about how difficult his recovery went. Sitting down with Sports Illustrated, Cole recalled seeing a brain doctor 3 times a week mere months after his concussion at Forbidden Door, and how he struggled to complete basic tasks. "I took this brain test. I had to move my head back and forth, and there was a letter E moving up, down, left, or right. I had to say which direction it was facing. Pro athletes are supposed to score a 120. I scored a 38. Cole called the incredibly disappointing result being slapped in the face with reality, and said that now he wasn't just worried about his wrestling future, but also his quality of life. Thankfully, Cole has been able to make a full recovery and is back doing his job, which he loves and is good at, but his story is a solemn reminder to all wrestlers of the dangers of this profession. On tonight's SmackDown, WWE will host Night 1 of the draft, and many fans expect to see NXT superstars be called up to the main roster. After all, Triple H has said that this year's draft will be the biggest ever, but one name associated with the gold brand may have already been moved. When Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful asked about Cameron Grimes' status for the draft, a source said that WWE doesn't have NXT talent work SmackDown, but he has wrestled at the Blue Brand tapings. This could be a strong indicator that Cameron Grimes' WWE main roster call-up happened without anyone realizing it, and that the former NXT North American champion is now a SmackDown superstar. It was last December that reports came out stating that Grimes had completely finished his time in NXT, but that WWE were waiting on the right creative idea for the affluent superstar on the main roster. Whatever that idea ends up being, it appears that Grimes will be on SmackDown moving forward, and what would you do with Cameron Grimes if you were running creative? More draft news now, and with NXT superstars expected to be called up on tonight's show and next week's Raw, the big question among fans is who exactly will be making the move. WWE has quite a few prospective call-ups from NXT to pick from, and now some major decisions have been made. Sean Ross Sapp reports that Pretty Deadly are the most likely names to be called up, as they will reportedly be at tonight's SmackDown, and were left sleeping with the fishes thanks to Tony D'Angelo and Channing Stax Lorenzo during this week's NXT. As we previously reported, Tyler Bate has also been pitched as a potential call-up, as the consensus is that he's done everything WWE has planned for him in NXT and is simply spinning his wheels on the Gold brand. Ilya Dragunov is another name that has been pitched for a call-up as part of the draft, and this will no doubt excite fans who want to see a third match between Dragunov and Gunther, who have one win each in their hard-hitting feud over the NXT UK Championship. In the end, we'll only know for certain which names will be called up when the draft is complete on next week's Raw, but the WWE landscape could soon be looking very different if these NXT superstars make the move. When Riddick Moss was aligned with Happy Corbin on TV, the former 24/7 champion was given the name Madcap Moss to match Corbin's jovial demeanor. Now their pairing is over, and it looks like Moss's time as Madcap is over as well, as on last week's SmackDown, Karrion Kross named Moss as a possible opponent and called him Riddick Moss. On WWE.com, his profile has his name reverted back to Riddick Moss, as it's clear that his time as Madcap Moss is officially finished. In 2007, WWE made the active decision to avoid referencing Chris Benoit, a policy that the company has kept to this day. While Benoit matches are available on the network, WWE does not promote the disgraced wrestler and have never even considered him for the Hall of Fame. One man who wrestled Benoit plenty of times is Kurt Angle, and during his podcast, the Olympian spoke about how he's been affected by WWE's policy. He explained, "5 of my 10 best matches were with Chris, but obviously they want to keep him under wraps, and it's unfortunate. The thing is, if they erase Chris Benoit's career, they're erasing a lot of my career." Angle went on to say that while he understands WWE's reasons, the policy has stopped fans from seeing a lot of great matches, and said that WWE is taking away from other wrestlers. WWE will never celebrate Chris Benoit or promote his matches, and the final actions of his have overshadowed all he did in the ring, but that's arguably too far, according to Kurt Angle. During his multiple runs with WWE, Brock Lesnar's toughness has never been in any doubt, as he's proven time and time again just how legitimately dangerous he can be. Not only is Lesnar an accomplished name in WWE, but he's had plenty of success in both amateur wrestling and in the world of MMA, and WWE plans to make the most of this fact. Fightful Select has learned that WWE Creative made a point to hammer home Lesnar's success and have made it clear that he is to be regarded as the most decorated combat sports star of all time when he appears on TV. It's certainly interesting that WWE wants to reference Lesnar's success in combat sports, especially considering the upcoming merger with UFC as part of the Endeavor deal. Lesnar left the Octagon in 2011 to return to WWE the following year, and while he did have one more fight at UFC 200 in 2016, his win was nullified after a positive drug test. The Beast Incarnate has experience working for Vince McMahon and Dana White, which puts him in an interesting position once the merger is finalized, and while his immediate attention is on Cody Rhodes and next week's Backlash, we'll have to see what the future holds for the most decorated combat sports star of all time. If you go on social media after any wrestling event, odds are you'll find plenty of comments absolutely eviscerating the booking of the show. It's frankly impressive that WWE has been able to keep running for decades, considering that every episode of Raw is apparently the worst thing in the history of wrestling to some fans, and there's plenty of wrestlers who also take to social media to complain about their own booking. As a wrestling veteran, Jeff Jarrett has seen plenty of wrestlers take to social media to speak about deserving to be booked better, which is hardly a new phenomenon, as he explained on the Zaslow Show. It's the evolution. Years ago, talent that didn't have social media and liked to complain, where did they complain? They complained to the nightclubs, at the gym, in the dressing room. It's all the same. Now the double-edged sword is, these guys complain, they don't understand they're creating a narrative of who their character is. Jarrett went on to say that rather than helping rally support, wrestlers who complain about booking online hurt their own chances, as fans see their character as someone who is complaining or bitching online. If a wrestler is unhappy about their booking, there is a time and a place to address the matter, but that isn't on social media, according to Jeff Jarrett. But what do you think? Do you agree with Jarrett's comments that wrestlers should keep their complaints off social media? Let us know in the comments. Even more from the draft now, as over the years we've seen tag teams and factions split up, and that could be happening this year to one of the most popular groups in wrestling today. On WWE.com, an article revealed who is eligible to be drafted on Night 1 and Night 2, and the placement of the Judgment Day has raised some eyebrows. While the faction will be drafted on Night 2 of Raw, Rhea Ripley will be drafted separately from the rest of the group, while Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and Damian Priest will be drafted as a unit. With Ripley already being the SmackDown Women's Champion, many expect she'll be moved to the Blue brand, and will her faction allies join her, or will they be drafted to Raw? And we're ending today with D'Lo Brown, whose career in the ring is over, but the former WWE superstar remains a valuable asset to the business. After spending many years with Impact Wrestling in various roles, it was announced last September that he was finished with the company, but now his hiatus has come to an end. PW Insider reports that the former Nation of Domination member is back with Impact as of the most recent TV tapings, and that the roster is very pleased to see him return as a producer. Brown is said to have been universally loved by those at Impact during his previous run, and the report adds that Melissa Anderson, who fans may know as cheerleader Melissa, also had a tryout as a producer at the tapings in Toronto. We don't know yet if she got the job, but Brown is indeed back with the company, and he's ready to once again part his years of wrestling wisdom onto Impact Wrestling.